Welcome back, my friends, to Manny's Irish Pub. This is the Predictive PlayBook. I am your host, John Ryan. I am joined by Rob Vino. And just in the studio, he was actually early, so we're not going to say he was tardy here because he definitely was not. He was 15 minutes early, and he should be commended for it. That was Tony Finn, but now he dropped out for some reason. Never know. You never know. That leash when he leaves his house is only so long, and he might have just got yanked back to the house. But Rob, we're going to get right to it here. We're going to go over the NBA angle of the day. This supports a money line play, and one of the questions I'm going to have for you and Tony is: does it make more sense to play the money line, or does it make more sense to play -1.5, which I believe is where the line currently is and was earlier today? But the system right here is to bet on home teams using the money line after game number 41, which is normally the halfway point of a regular season in the NBA. And it's a matchup of two solid ball handling teams committing no more than 14.5 turnovers per game. And the home team is an elite free throw shooting team that makes at least 79% on the season. And their opponent it's just kind of mediocre in free throw shooting, 70 to 75% of their free throws as a team on the season. That combination of parameters has produced a 77-29 record for 73% winning bets over the last 5 seasons. This tells you to bet on the Brooklyn Nets using the money line over the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 2 tonight. And by the way, the last time, this will be the second season in a row the Bucks are down 0-2. The last time was against the Miami Heat, and that series ended pretty quick in 5 games. So welcome to the show, Rob, as always. And with this quick hitter right out of the chute, what do you think of this matchup, and do you think the money line or the betting line is the way to go?
Well, where it currently sits, John, we've had a change of favorites, right? So Brooklyn now is +1. So either you take a money line at 5 cents, or you take 1 point in case it ends a 1-point game, you at least get a push, and that costs you 10 cents. So you're saving a nickel by betting money line. You're gaining a point by betting the other side. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really. I guess, I would probably say, and it'll probably happen now, but if it was me betting, I would say the chances of it landing 1 aren't really high percentage chances, so I would take money line. Guys will do what they would do, but I think for the 5 cents, I would certainly play money line in this case, figuring, the Nets +1 or the Nets to win the game. If the Nets, if they lose by 1, I'll go down with the ship. I would say if I was in that position, I'll take them to win the game if I was in that position. Yeah. But there has been a big shift. I mean, it's gone.
Yep.
All the way, like I say, and I'm just looking off to my other computer here over my shoulder. As we speak, the VIG rises on that -1 in some places. So we'll see if it makes it to 1.5. The James Harden news obviously driving all of this. Whether or not it's worth all of that is another discussion, but certainly it's what's driving it.
Yeah, and as we all know, the dynamic trio has only played together for 8 games over this entire season. Harden was out for a long period of time. I think it was 18 games here down the stretch. So what do you think of the reaction of 3.5 points from the opening line to this current dog line for Brooklyn? Given that there's a history of Brooklyn playing very well without James Harden on the floor. I remember quite honestly, you, me, and Tony Finn had many conversations that the best combination among the 3 was Irving and Durant, and not with Harden on the floor. But I am surprised that they moved to a dog, and it looks like they're going to go to 1.5, even though the books probably don't want to do that. Do you think it's too much, or I'm confused on why it has moved so much? Yeah, I just can't get my hands around it.
Well, all we can go on is the history of the series this season, right? Now, 3 times out of 4 games that they've played, one being game 1 of this series, and the other 3 being regular season games, and 2 of those were played in May. So it's recent history. It's about a month. They've played 3 times now. All 3 times in that month, James Harden has not played, unless you're counting the 47 seconds he played the other night. The Nets did win the game the other day without James Harden. Prior to that, Milwaukee won by 6. Milwaukee won by 3. Both of those games in Milwaukee. So Milwaukee at home twice with no James Harden. They win both games by short numbers, 3 and 6. Brooklyn without James Harden again at home. They win by whatever the score. I can't remember off the top of my head what the score was the other day, but they win by some margin. I think by 8 points. So, the other game they played, guys, Kyrie Irving didn't play. Milwaukee has never seen all 3 of these guys.
That's right.
I would tend to say this, that where the Nets are concerned, I don't think it matters, honestly. I mean, yes, it would matter because they're better with Harden. But no, it doesn't matter in whether or not they could win a game, and especially go over a total, guys. I mean, I ran some numbers here, and the total's going crazy from this morning to this afternoon. When I was up this morning, John, I caught a 233.5 at 7 a.m., and that 233.5 is long gone, 237 right now. At about 10 o'clock Eastern time, maybe even 9:30 Eastern time, it started to get hit pretty good, and it's gone through. And the halftime as well. So I think I saw 114.5, 115 early today. We're looking at 117.5 right now. But let me just say this about these 3 games or 4 games that they've played now. The Nets, despite not having the big 3 in any of these games, have not scored any less than 114 against the Milwaukee Bucks. So certainly they're capable of scoring, and they've scored as many as 125 during the regular season. So I don't think their scoring is going to be affected whatsoever. I think what gets affected a little bit, or what helps a little bit, is that Milwaukee's offense, which only shot 6 for 20 from 3 the other day. We saw this happen in the Boston series when they had a lousy, or not the Boston series, Milwaukee played Miami and shot miserably from the 3-point line. Then the next game, they had like 78 points at halftime. Bryn Forbes went crazy. So the Brooklyn scoring shouldn't be affected. Milwaukee's probably goes up here because Milwaukee, if they don't penetrate the paint even more in this game than they did in the first game, I would say that they're absolutely crazy. They should have their pick of the litter, scoring inside, scoring outside. I just don't know, John, how you get away from high-scoring games in this particular matchup with these two teams. Brooklyn, in 4 games against Milwaukee, has made 15 threes or more. 15, 17, and 20. So the 15 they made the other day is no fluke. They just make threes. And this team hasn't been able to stop them. The first half, if you're listening out there and you want to bet first half, the last 3 games have all scored 120 plus in the first half between these teams. So again, does James Harden make a difference where scoring is concerned? Not really. These teams are able to get to where they need to be. The only other game they played, the 4th game, they scored 113 in the first half and then wound up with 135 in the second half, and the game went flying over the total. They put up 248. Where side is concerned, Milwaukee's in the corner, right? Brooklyn they want to get out of there with 2 home wins, hold home court, but Milwaukee would love to get out of there with a split. So the game itself, I'd be a little more indecisive, but I can totally see this move on the total, up. 222 the other day. Yeah. They had 100. How about this? They had a combined 199 field goal attempts, almost 200 field goal attempts in that game. There were no free throws. One side shot 19, the other side shot 9. I'd expect those numbers to go up, especially if Milwaukee gets into the paint more. They only shot 9 free throws, for goodness sakes. And Durant and Kyrie are always going to get to the free throw line because they can create. So, to me, I understand the total movement here, but the side I'd probably leave alone.
Yeah, it's we all know totals this year for the season over 235 are hitting at 69%. And it's hard to go against that trend because if you break it down even by week, there was very rarely a week of betting the overs that were 235 or higher that lost. And you could have done that blindly and looked like one of the betting gods for sure. Like a betting guy like Tony Finn, for example, who just has been waiting for me to introduce him. What's going on, Tony Finn?
I'm happy just listening. In truth, no,
you're the live version of the chat room, then.
What?
You'd be the live version of the chat room with a video.
Is that okay? All right.
I don't think we want to do that with the chat room, though, Tony.
Subtitles.
A lot of people don't like being on camera.
A lot of people have to be on camera, don't like to be on camera. Truthfully,
there's a lot of people that don't like shooting free throws while on camera.
No, well, there's a lot of people who don't like shooting free throws in their bathroom with all the blinds shut and hands free because they have
you can't shoot a free throw hands free.
Well, you can't
unless you kick it.
They're on the bathroom, in the toilet, hands free. Because why? Because they have one of those European toilets,
See, that's our life lesson of the show already. 15 minutes in, and look what we just learned. I said
European toilets is because it's just escaping me now. Never mind what the name of this, but here's the deal. I have a question. I have something to pose to both of you guys.
Okay.
And, I listened to Rob, and all that makes perfect sense. I mean, I too. I didn't release it for some reason. I got busy and didn't release that total, Rob, but I got it myself.
Right.
And now, of course, releasing it is not that I still don't think it's a winner at this point, but I don't know, something kind of rubs me wrong. Kind of rubs me where I chafing. But here's my question: all the things, the history between these teams. Okay. What happens? Let me just throw a scenario at you. What happens if Chris Middleton misses 17 shots, the Bucks miss 26 threes, and they go 11 for 19 from the free throw line against? Let's say they do it against Orlando, or let's say they do it against Memphis. Do they lose?
Well, those are two different. Against Memphis, they probably lose. Against Orlando, they don't lose.
Yeah, I didn't want to throw. Yeah, I just want to throw I wanted to throw one of the fringe playoff teams. And my question is, do they lose to any, no matter who it might be or who you would mention or I mention? Do they lose to any of the playoff teams that made it this season as they qualified for a part of the bracket?
Yeah, because well, I don't know that they did it to this extent, but they did it against Miami and lost, right? That game where they shot absolute garbage from 3-point range. That game went overtime.
That's right, and they won.
And they won by 2. You're absolutely right.
They swept Miami. Well, my question is this. Listen, they were ice, right? They did miss. Middleton did miss 17 shots. The Bucks missed 26 threes. Listen, in truth, you watched it. You guys both watched it. For the most part, they dominated the paint, as you just mentioned, Rob. They dominated the paint. They dominated the rebound, the boards. So I guess my question to you is, and I looked at this, and I asked myself this question several times: is, if they repeat that, or if they improve on that. Let's just say they improve on that, the shooting. Let's say they improve just 4 shots or 4 threes. Does it change the outcome of that game?
Well, they only lost by 8.
So I know.
Well, I guess it depends on when they occur, too. I mean, not
true.
Drill
and
down too far, but
that's why I threw 4 in, because 4 exceeds what the margin was. But we both also know that I hate using that scenario, or I hate using that example when I'm talking to myself or a client or something, because situations change in the last 30 or 60 seconds where that margin, it's just different. If they make 2 shots, if they make 2 of those threes, that margin is probably different, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not because they made the threes, but because of the situation. So I don't know. Listen. I'm the Harden thing. That's not a concern at all for me.
Right.
The concern
Oh, we were
is
just talking about that.
Milwaukee. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying I'm kind of referencing what Rob spoke to, and then I'm playing devil advocate here, and that is, if Milwaukee shoots better tonight from the field and from three, all things being equal, and the Nets are the same, do they win?
Yes.
I think if Milwaukee would take less than 26 threes, which is the number you said they missed,
Well,
they'd
how many
probably
did
win
they
by
take?
15.
How many did they take?
I
I have to look
for
for
30.
It was.
Don.
It was.
I think they were
It
six.
was, I think it was
No, I mean,
40.
I want to know how many they took in the last 10 minutes of the game. That's what I want to know. So I'll
they
look
were
it up.
chasing.
Right,
Way too many.
exactly.
Right, and they were chasing it. Exactly right.
If they're chasing, well, you're going to chase when you're down.
Right.
You know, when you're
Right.
down double
Yep.
digits, you're going to chase. You know.
But you got Giannis. You really don't have to
but
chase.
listen,
Isn't it better to get 2 points
no
instead
Yeah,
of none?
But these guys are.
I think so, John.
They are human. Like
Thank you,
us.
Adam.
Adam, where'd Adam come from?
I know. I thought that was just. I mean, the second half out of the Bucks in Game 1 was just pathetic in my opinion. But
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying that they should. I mean, we all know the logic of taking a 2. We know. Listen, I know the logic. You know the logic. Rob knows the logic in this in shooting threes. If you can make the same amount of threes or 5% more, less threes than you do 2s, depending on the number of shots you're taking, you're better off missing 3s than you are taking 2s. The math, whatever the math might be in this situation, my question is only if everything was the same and if they make just 4 more 3s, which is not a whole lot more, although it's going to raise the percentage. What? It's going to raise the percentage of 4%, whatever it might be. Not that much, but do they win? I guess my question is, was that Game 1? Is that what we're going to expect in Game 2? Do we expect Milwaukee to be more competitive? Do we expect Milwaukee to be smarter, more disciplined, more deliberate? I don't think deliberate is something they're going to be. I don't think they will be. But I guess the question is, they lost by 8. And if you look at the stats outside of the rebounds and points in the paint, it looks like to me they should have lost by 25.
All right, I'll let you answer your own question here.
Thank you.
I'll let you answer your own
Yes,
question.
I do. No, go ahead.
The 24 missed threes, 6 of 30.
Yeah.
Were they caused by Brooklyn defense, or
No.
were they caused by missing open looks?
Well, okay. Let me
Open
answer
looks.
a question. Let me answer your question with a question.
This gonna go on all day, buddy.
Yes, it is. What did Middleton shoot from the 3-point line?
Middleton shot
pretty terrible.
0 for 5
Oh, from 3 points.
from
line.
3 points. Yeah, 0 for 5.
Middleton did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bryn Forbes 1 for 5. Those two combined.
Okay.
are 1 for 10.
What does Middleton shoot in the season from the 3-point line? And Brooke Forbes. They're both over 40%, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Without-
So
I know.
I guess my question is, to answer your question, no, I don't think they were defended. I don't think they were defended at all
Right.
by the Nets. In fact, we both know the Nets are not a superior defensive team anywhere on the floor, especially from distance. So that I would say this: it figures they're going to shoot better than what they shot, right?
Yeah, probability experts that we are, Tone. It stands to reason they'll make 4 more threes somewhere in that game.
Right.
Like
So I guess that's I want desperately. Listen, I played Milwaukee 4 times in the first round. I did not play this game, game 1 game, mostly because nor did I play the Philly game. A lot of questions that I needed to have answered before I pushed across the counter. I really want to play Milwaukee here, is what I want to, because of the scenario I just, the picture I just painted for you. But I can't. Something's preventing me from doing so. So
Yeah, I need them. I didn't play them, but again,
Right.
John, I don't know if I mentioned it on this show or not. I probably did, but the series bet that I have for this series is for the series to go over 5.5 games. And
okay.
incredibly enough, MGM had what I thought was a strangely low number. Over 5.5 games, minus 150. Today it's minus 250, I think, after the Nets won. But I don't really have to bet the Bucks in this game. I'm just looking for a seesaw back and forth, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, and in my mind, this series had to reach 6 or 7. So I'll let the Milwaukee side ride on that for myself. But I'm with you, Tony. I'm with you. I mean, we've seen a huge move in this game, a 3.5 point move. And like I was saying to John, the VIG is going up at a couple of places now on that 1. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1.5 come game time, because followers are always going to, follow the number. But if they shoot better, they should. And Tony, if the game situation is different, because you were talking about game situation before, if they're not in chase mode, they're going downhill to the rim the entire game and get fouled or get dunks or get layups or get something, because they can't stop it.
It's funny you brought that up too, and just I'll listen to Adam and John and you for a while I look something else up. But the first thing I did was, my first thought was, if I'm going to be in Milwaukee, I don't want to be part of that chase. You see, I don't want to be part of it. So what did I do? I started to look up what's Milwaukee's history been this year of first quarters. How have they performed early on? How have they, and even in the limited role or a limited number, small sample size against the Nets, how did it perform? And I got interrupted. So it was just about an hour and a half ago, I never got to look. I was digging. So now I'm chasing. You see, I'm chasing for additional support for me to. I want to support Milwaukee here. You know what I think Zig's actually good for, and it's not bad NBA basketball. So I have to have good reason to jump in.
So can I give you a couple? I can help you with your number.
Well, I'm glad you're here, because that saves me a lot of work. My fingers are tired. Go ahead.
I can help you just from the series itself, the 4 games that they played.
Yeah.
In this particular series, Milwaukee's 3-0 and a push in the first half.
Yep.
Against the spread, 3-0-1. So they've been good against this team in the first half. The other day they were +2. They're down 63-61. So it was a push. But the other 3, they covered them all. Again, none of the big 3, not all of the big 3 involved. But they've been good first half.
I would agree with you, though. Listen, I think the big 3, when the 3 of them are on the court together, I don't think it's necessary for all 3 of them to be on the court together. Now, if they're all active and they're all available, I think the advantage it gives them is they're a hell of. But when the 4 stanza rolls around, they're just fresher too, and that they can do much of what they did 3 minutes in and they're warmed up as they can 3 minutes into the fourth, where I don't know if you guys agree, but NBA basketball is different. It's a different animal, and there's despite the adrenaline, there's fatigue in the fourth quarters is different in playoff basketball than it is in regular season basketball.
I mean, I agree with.
I would agree.
I agree with Ski. The Bucks should be just pounding it inside, because they would score easily. I'm disappointed. I didn't play the first game. I'm not playing today, but I did like the Bucks, and it was disappointing to see them just get away from what they should be doing to be successful in the second half. You had something up there from Bill. He's right. I don't think the Bucks can play any worse, and they only lost by 8. So, but I kind of agree with Tony. Like, I don't know if it's like the move, and now I've missed it, but I want to take the Bucks here, but I don't. I like it. I think that's the only way I would play if I was going to play tonight, but there's just not enough there for me to make a bet. I lean Bucks, but that's about.
What if I told you? What if I told you this? The reason I'm not jumping in head first, because I know how deep the water is, and if I'm not careful, we'll run. Here, and here's my issue with the Bucks. As much as I like the Bucks, as much as I think that they're a space and pace team that can not only does their points every time they score in the paint, they make it that much easier for their perimeter shooters. I mean, that's how it's just that much easier. Is that I don't like the fact that when I ask other people who are pundits and who I respect, who's the guy when it's crunch time, or you're in a position where you need a bucket, something's happening, you need one. Why is it that you trust the Greek? Who's the point guard? Who's the guard? Who's the guy that's got the ball from Milwaukee that you really trust? And if you tell me it's the Greek, then that's something. Then they can't win a championship.
100% agreed.
And because in most of those situations, Tone, or not in most, but in a lot of those situations, Middleton takes that shot.
Exactly.
Now,
right.
those off-season acquisitions, Drew Holiday mainly, were meant for this time of year. They're meant for this time of year to be not necessarily the shot taker, although I don't think he's afraid, but to be the distributor, to get something end of game. But Middleton. And Middleton's not afraid. Middleton's drained a lot of those in the past. So I guess I would say he would be their option from what we've seen so far. But the Holiday and PJ Tucker acquisitions were meant for series like this.
Yeah, the fact that you hesitate or that you had to kind of beat around the bush and it took long to get to that that alone is enough that you too aren't, if it's coming down to me having the ball at the end of the game or the Greek having the ball at the end of the game, we know who you're going to trust, and it's going to be me.
Yeah, because you don't want Giannis on the foul line either. You know what I mean? What? You don't want Giannis on the foul line either.
You're right. You're right. No, I don't want Simmons or Greek on the game.
We could start that right now.
Yeah, we could. Yes, we could.
You better go first, though, because
let's just briefly talk about, because I want to get through our our outline as best as we can here.
I'd like that, because was your outline? Are we discussing the late game?
I didn't have it on the list, believe it or not, but we will after I mention this.
All right,
and we'll take no more than 5 minutes on this, and eventually we'll get Top Flight Sports free pick into the show eventually. But I know he likes hanging out, and he's in his new pad up there in Schenectady, so that's cool. But
I haven't set the office up yet, which is why I'm just got a blank wall behind me. But it's in that's next.
Oh,
and to get everything in here first.
It's pretty blank wall though. It's good.
It always is leery, right, Tony Finn, when you see a guy on a show with a pure white background with nothing hanging on the wall.
It means a lot of things.
No family photos.
But you do not want me to go what it really means, and we're going to start getting Freudian on this kind of crap. We'll stick to basketball.
I hear D'Amico has rooms that look like that.
I believe that.
I mean, it hit social media late Friday night.
Oh,
that they're pure white, like where Adam is. He just hasn't had time to decorate.
Why did it wait till late Friday night, though?
I don't know. I knew that you were safe, and I didn't give it any more attention.
I'm well guarded. I've told you. They surround me. They're all around waiting for me to leave.
So the Sixers, and you guys have anointed me as a Sixer fan. I will emphasize every possible opportunity that Rob Vino and I happen to live within close proximity to Philadelphia. We also live close proximity to New York City. Okay? But I've become a defender of sorts. And I have to admit that I pretty much gagged when I turned on the game midway through the first quarter, having issued out a underplay. And I've been hot, so every time it's just a matter of time until you hit that clunker, right, to the betting gods slap you in the face and say you're really not that good. However, that game, what do you think? I just want to know real quickly from both of you, that furious defensive-led comeback in the fourth quarter. First of all, it's a two-part question. Do you think, and in my opinion, it's happened time and time again, you have a star player like Embiid, he's not expected to play, and then right at the last minute, he's playing. And I'm making the premise that the team did not know this until, say, an hour before game time, or less. Do you think that causes a letdown, knowing that this is going to be a piece of cake now? We got Embiid in the lineup. He's looking good. I mean, during warm-up, he did look good. So was there a little bit of a letdown on the whole team because Embiid was there to carry them across the finish line? And the second thing is, did they deliver a message to Atlanta that you just better not even show up in Game 2 because this is what we're going to do to you for 4 quarters?
The only thing I have to say about this before they go, I don't like any changes really close to game time. It's why I list my pitchers in baseball. If the pitching change gets scratched, I usually just want to be out of it. I feel the same way about something like that. I don't like a game plan being in place and then something changing right away. That's all I have to say about it. So I figured I'd get it out there.
Rob Vino?
Well, where Embiid was concerned, guys, that 20 minutes before the game in shoot-around when he took his last shot and drained it, and the crowd that was already in attendance went crazy, I think that was uplifting for Philadelphia. Doc had said that they basically formed 2 different game plans. Although, Friday was a little confusing, guys, because Doc was hemming and hawing. I hope he's able to play at some point during the playoffs, where Dwight Howard, who was at practice, said he looks wonderful. I'm not too worried about him. So the coach could have just been playing coy a little bit, and maybe they knew all along, unless something really went wrong, that Joel was going to play in that game. It seems that way now after seeing what we saw yesterday. But I don't know that it had a negative effect on them, John. I just think they got it. First game is always a feel-out process, right? First games are difficult, and it's a different matchup than Washington. I mean, it's a far different – Washington doesn't have that guy, and I know that where Bradley Beal is concerned, as great as he is, Bradley Beal's nowhere near the three-point shooter Trae Young is. And what Trae Young brings to the table is, if you want to play off of me, I'll shoot over you. And Danny Green tried, and he blew by Danny Green to the right time after time. Ben Simmons tried to start the third quarter. He picked up 2 fouls within the first 3 minutes. Matisse came in, and while he got beat a couple of times, I still think he's the best option. Maybe they have to trap this guy. I don't know. But the problem with Atlanta is they're just surrounded with other guys that can shoot, much like Utah. Bogdanovich, Kevin Huerter, John Collins. Everybody on this team can score. And it's one thing to try. Embiid said today, we have no answer for Trae Young. It's a different matchup. It's a problematic matchup for this team. And I'll say this to your question real quick about does the defensive frenzy and the comeback at the end of the game. Listen, the Hawks look like a high school team or a church league team that never saw a press before. So maybe a full court. And
it's true.
To that point, when the ball got into Kevin Huerter's hands and when the ball got into Bogdanovich's hands, they just couldn't make quick enough decisions. Some folks from the Atlanta side, and even some neutral folks say that the referees just let them play and that they were raking arms to steal the ball and whatnot. All that being what it is, it's playoff basketball. You have to be able to find your way out of a press. But I'm not so sure Philadelphia can press for 48 minutes, guys. That looked like the best defensive weapon they had was a trapping full-court press. And you're not going to do it for 48 minutes. They did it out of desperation in a furious rally, and they got to a point where I'll let Tony go on this, but you know what? They mean something at all points in the game, and if Ben had made only 2 more free throws in that contest along the line, they're not staring at 5-point deficits. They're staring at one possession deficits, and the game's played entirely differently at the end. So in that fashion, he cost them. But I don't know that the defensive frenzy at the end sends any real message, unless you're going to do that from the get-go. And I just don't, no pro team does that for 48 minutes. So we'll see how game 2 goes. Philadelphia felt them out. Now they won the second half, which if you're a Sixers fan, that's a pretty good sign. They won the second half. But I think Atlanta got complacent. There was a lot of talk about how many threes Atlanta made, but how about how many they shot? They still only shot 42% from 3. And guys, I could give you 100+ games this year where teams shot 42% from 3-point range. That's not uncommon. So it's not like that was some mirage where Atlanta just came out and, they shot lights out and they can't possibly do it again. They could do it again. I think they started chucking up threes with a 25-point lead just because they got a little lazy. But we'll see, John. That's just my thoughts on that game. In Game 2, Philadelphia, we see the price, right? The price is 5.5, 5.5, as opposed to what it was yesterday. So can't blow 2 at home. That's padded into the number. We'll see if Atlanta brings it again. But so far, they've been pretty good, these playoffs, against good defensive teams.
I'm going to guess that Thibault starts because that worked real well with the Wizards, and I know I've been I've been preaching that sermon for about 3 months now, but they finally did it, and that worked. And to his credit, he drained a couple threes that were nice, soft shots, and that's an X factor there, I think. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sixers do that full court press when Trae Young is out of the game and just suddenly, bring it on for spurts of 2 or 3 minutes, cause chaos, see what they can get out of it. And then, if nothing else, maybe that forces Trae Young back into the game sooner than they want to put him back in. Fatigue's an issue even with a kid that young. Just kind of like things rolling around my head.
Yeah, you would hope that Nate McMillan spent all day today at practice.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what you would hope, right? I'm sure.
Looking at how to break down the Princeton press from 1972, I think probably would be a good film.
The first pass isn't into the deep corner. Yep. I'll tell you that just from
Oh, that pass that kid threw, I don't know who it was on the Hawks, but he literally jumped up and just got super lucky throwing it down the middle of the court. And I would, as a reporter, I would want to ask that guy, did you just do that or did you know the guy was there? Because that was like, oh my God. But Tony Finn, what do you, real quick, what do you think on this? And then we're going to move to the Yankees woes. And I can only do that when D'Amico's not on the show.
Okay. And so you want my thoughts on
Philly.
On Philly.
The finish. Mainly the finish of that game, the momentum.
Yeah, well, I think it's simple. It really is simple. It doesn't surprise me that Atlanta beat New York. It doesn't surprise me because of one reason. That is, New York, they don't have enough weapons, offensive weapons too, and if they're in isolation, everything goes through essentially one player offensively, in the big picture. Yep. And if Atlanta is not even close to being, first off, they don't have that duo. I'm just going to say this: they don't have that duo. They have Trae Young. Trae Young Trae Young still can't. He's still small. He can't guard. There's half the league point guards he can't guard. He's not that great a defender. He's matured and he's grown as an offensive player, though, I will say that. But their Achilles, I think, is if you look at a lot of their games, they can't close games. Why can't they close games? Because, as just mentioned, Rob said they turn the ball over. They do turn the ball over. That's how that. Listen, all you have to do is be close, I think, with this Atlanta team, and you're going to beat them for that simple reason. And that's experience, and I'll, Seinfeld, yada, 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 and that. But I tell you right now, Philadelphia is a much better defensive team. I don't think that close in that game was anything. I don't think it was anything where Philly, if they repeat that, guys, they're going to lose again. They're going to lose again. That's not the situation that this team needs to be in. They are good enough defensively that they should be against Atlanta at home. They should be leading in the fourth quarter, not down by double digits.
I agree,
guys. Yeah. That's all it is. It is playing defense against Atlanta. That's just my opinion. I stayed away from Atlanta most of this year. I did not either fade or back Atlanta simply because I never can. I know that that's my opinion. I believe that's how you beat Atlanta, and I believe that's why Atlanta will not go any further than this series. Is simply because they make too many. Young still has a couple years. He still makes some very selfish plays that I think are detrimental to this team winning playoff games in the final 2 minutes.
Yep. Tony, coach for me for a minute. You're
Sure.
Doc Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
on the defensive end because Philadelphia was in scramble mode all game long. I mean, that other team shot 44 threes, but I got to tell you, maybe 3 of those 44 were with a hand in their face. Those were open looks, wide open.
Yep.
So they start the game. They try playing Trae Young man-to-man with Danny Green. Danny Green gets beat to his right like a drum consistently. So
that's I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you go any further, Danny Green cannot guard Trae Young.
Right, we found that out real fast. So did Doc.
Yeah, I hope so.
So they tried to come with Danny Green trying to take the right side away, and what Atlanta did was Atlanta ran a pick out there, and Trae Young went around the pick and right into the paint. Again, easy as pie. He did it to Matisse Thybulle a few times. Now, Matisse Thybulle's a little smarter. Matisse Thybulle just immediately went into a back pedal and figured he could cut off Trae Young at the pass before he got into the paint. That's how he tried to play it, not going over the top of picks, but staying underneath, trying to catch. But once this kid gets into the paint, it's Joel is in a no-win situation. Joel has to either take 2 steps back, which he was doing. He was backpedaling to guard against the lob with Capella, or he has to come up and greet Young, in which case Young just chucks that floater up before he can get there. It's a very, very difficult defensive assignment for Philadelphia with what Atlanta showed me on offense yesterday. And then he passes to an open 3-point shooter where they're all over the place because, again, Philadelphia's scrambling around the horn to catch up with these guys. It's tough. It ain't Washington. It ain't Washington where you just sit there and wait for Russell Westbrook to come into the lane. Just wait for Beal because you know he's going to try and finish. And then Trae Young shoots logo threes like the other two, Lillard and So to me, Philadelphia's got to outscore these guys. Yeah, we'll see if they can do that.
Yeah, here's the Atlanta to win this series. They won game 1. Now they've turned home court into an advantage for them. At least today, this minute. But I said before the series that first off, let's look at the bigs. They have to win the battle of the bigs. Atlanta does. They have to outplay Philly's bench. They have to, and I said they had to at least 25 to 30% of the time they have to blitz Young and put that ball in somebody else's hands and take their chances. And I don't think they did, other than Embiid scoring his 40 or 39, whatever it was, career high in the playoffs. They didn't do anything right.
Yeah, the couple of times they tried that hard hedge and that blitz tactic, it actually was the most effective.
I think so.
And that's why we'll see these series are all about adjustments. And we'll see. John, what'd you feel about your bench yesterday, pal? Because that bench, they came in the second quarter and turned it over like they were playing for the other team.
Yeah.
It was like you described the church league, in the fourth quarter, the way Atlanta was falling apart. Yeah, it was surprising. I mean, the whole game it wasn't appalling. It just was, I knew the under was pretty much shot at, 220.5. And I did personally bet 236.5, so I owned up to losing by half a point. And I had 241.5. So, I mean, they were just, pizza bet. Maybe a little bit more than that. Pizza and cheesesteak and fries, I guess. Maybe with a Coke, depending on what area of the country you live.
Do you think
Vegas, you could probably have like twice that.
John, are you a fan of Doc?
Unfortunately, I'll answer it this way because I have to be careful when I'm being objective or subjective. Yeah. I felt horribly bad the way he was treated by the Clippers and the fans.
Yeah.
And how you ought to just end your career as a head coach in basketball because you just flat out suck. We found out the guy really does have some talent.
Okay.
So I kind of cheer for those underdogs.
Is he too much of a player's coach? Because I think he's a cheerleader in too many ways. He's a cheerleader in too many ways, and instead of me taking out the hammer and breaking my kid's finger as a disciplinary.
That's one of the reasons you're not allowed to leave the house.
Here's the deal: Trae Young loves. He's built for playoff basketball. In truth, he loves being a villain. And he scores more points away from home than he does at home. Why? He thrives on it. Again, we're not going to play Lambeer basketball, not in my lifetime, ever again in the NBA. Okay? This is video NBA We are playing the new generation's NBA. It's video. Am I right? Here's the deal. You got to put Trae Young on his ass a couple times. You have to put him on his ass a couple times. That little shit cannot be coming down the lane like that.
He's probably taller than you.
Well, did you see the Mayweather fight last night?
No.
Did you watch
I absolutely refuse to subject myself. I would have watched The Bachelorette before I would have watched that.
Now, John, don't ever.
Well, I know that's absurd to say.
Don't ever say that out loud again. Think it if you want. Don't ever say it out loud because we can't defend you.
Well, that show starts tonight. You know.
I heard they just hugged for 8 rounds. I didn't buy it.
I get it free. I have this streaming thing, so as long as it did buffer too much last night. But let me tell you something. When I turned it on, I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "Susan, that looks like you when you're mad at me, and I'm still twice as big as you, and I'm backing up and running." I mean, this dude was a monster. He's a monster compared to Mayweather, and Mayweather just long story short is that's you got to put Trae Young on his ass, guys. You got to put him on his ass. Put him. How many times have I said this all season, Rob, about NBA basketball? And in this environment, this landscape, it's playoff basketball. And what you're never going to return to the nasty boys and beer, that kind of thing. I don't care. If it's going to be a 1, so be it. It's a 1. If it's going to be a 2, then somebody. Long story short is it's going to be a flagrant.
Yeah,
it has to be a flagrant.
It's got to be a firm decision made by the team, Tone, to do that. Because otherwise, this kid, his decision making is really, really good, and it's really, really quick. Whether I should shoot the floater, whether I should shoot the alley-oop, whether I should kick out, he makes that decision in time. So you have to make that firm decision. We're just going to stand in the paint one time. We're going to wait for him, and we're going to clock him.
It only takes once.
It's in the paint. I agree. In the paint would be the proper time to make them think twice about ever doing that again.
Your best chance of not getting a flagrant 2.
Yeah. And, conversely, what I would like to see is Simmons do the same impact driving into the paint instead of pulling up, because if you notice, they had like a picket fence. They had sometimes had 3 guys standing there at the foul line within 2 feet of each other and prevented and made him give up the ball. Instead, just run one of them over. I mean, the dude's pretty big. He's like 250 and 6'11", and what is it? E equals MC squared, if I remember right. Mass times velocity equals ouch.
Yes.
That'd be the same thing. That'd be the same message.
I don't care how tough the guy says he is. When you clock somebody when they're in the air, and you clock somebody at the rim, especially basketball players in this day and age, in this NBA, they may get up, shake it off, act like it was nothing. But I promise you, the next time they're in that situation, they have a less chance of making the shot because they remember.
I agree.
Adam, wrap this thing up for us. Game 2 of the whole series. Give us something.
Yeah. Give us some.
I'll be perfectly honest. Like I'm not betting either of these basketball games tonight, and I don't have. Like, I wish I had more to add to the basketball conversation, but for whatever reason,
he's trying to say we're transitioning to baseball, is what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I found it really hard to get anywhere with either of the basketball games. I already said in the first one I would the only way I could play it would be the Bucks, and the other one tonight I see the entire world is on Phoenix, and I don't know that I disagree with that. So I won't do it because that's not my style. I don't like, I try to not be on the very public side, but I have a hard time disagreeing with Phoenix. And if you want my opinion tomorrow, I'm still kicking myself about not betting the Hawks in game 1. Like I stared at it as soon as they said Embiid was playing, and it went to like 4. It started to move up, and I was just I had my hand on the mouse and didn't click it. Like I was that close to betting Atlanta in that game and didn't.
Hey, Adam, Adam, what if I told you that What if they told you that they knew 2.5, 3 hours before the game tipped they knew Embiid was playing.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, I like the.
Would that surprise you? Would that surprise you?
No, it wouldn't. And I also, I knew I liked the Hawks regardless, and it didn't change my opinion. But I don't know. I think Rob said it. Game ones. For a while, I never
the hardest handicap in the world. NBA game one, especially first round. Especially first round.
For a while, I just threw them out. Right. I never and I still do that to an extent. I really don't get involved a ton with game ones. That's actually probably the only reason I didn't bet the Bucks on Saturday, because I thought the Bucks were a really good bet in game one, and the only reason I didn't bet it is because I kind of made a rule for myself years ago to not bet game ones of these series. So, I'll be interested to see what happens in Suns Nuggets. I'd probably take the Nuggets. If I had to bet it, I would probably take the points, simply because Suns just seems like that side that just everyone's on. But I don't really want to bet against the Suns team. I like them. I think they're a good team. So I just don't have much with the NBA. I might get involved in Hawks Sixers tomorrow, but the problem is I feel like I'm going to like Philly, and I know I'm not going to want to lay that inflated number. So I probably won't get there either on those. I'll be focused on the other sports. I did win in WNBA last night, though. So,
but before you stop, just tell Adam. I mean, just tell John real quick, Adam, that you think the Sixers are going to win the series. That way, he can transition and feel good about things.
You know what? I've been pro Atlanta Hawks all year, so I like this Hawks team. Kevin Huerter's a local guy to me, so I've followed him since he was in high school, basically. High school friend and teammate of Ian Anderson, Tony. They went to the same high school, and they're right down the road from me here. So
this Atlanta Hawks team, as long as McMillan's coaching and Trae Young is able to, be standing upright for an entire game and play the villain's role, they're going to be tough, especially when they get somebody who can complement somebody who truly. The DeRozan, all those championship teams have typically had that complement to the two stars. One of the reasons I think the Nets are kind of a public choice, not only that, pundit's choice for that matter. But I still think they have ways to go. They still have ways to go. I think I love Capella. Listen, I'm a big Capella fan, but they have to have a step better than Capella as well too. In the thing.
Well, it's supposed to be John Collins.
Yes, it is. You're right. It is supposed to be John Collins.
And I mean, until he and Trae Young got in their little riff, but they seem to have solved that. Hey, real quick before we get out of it, John, just to put some kind of context into what the perception of the Atlanta Hawks preseason, and talk to a lot of our guys at Wager Talk. Preseason, Atlanta was one of the most heavily bet teams for season over win totals. Over. I know I did a show with Ski. He had it. Steve Merrill, he had it. Everybody I talked to, they had it. So this team, what they're doing now is what a lot of the betting community expected them to be doing from the get-go. It didn't work that way. They've had a lot of injury. They had the little rift. They had the coaching change, but I think their record is 35-12 in their last 47 or something crazy like that, which is as good as any in the NBA. So I don't know that this is a fluke what's going on here. I happened to have them yesterday plus 3.5. They went outright. They made me happy. But I don't know. I took another shot, guys, and this is a shot in the dark, but I saw them listed at plus 850 to get out of the East. If they get past this series, I can hedge my way out of that. But I could almost see them getting past this team in this series.
Are there only plus 850?
They're plus 850.
That's it?
Yeah, there was a 140 Brooklyn.
This was as of this morning or yesterday?
Last night, yeah.
Okay.
After the result was in, Tone. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I still think that's. I just think it's low.
Cheap, yeah. Well, we're not going to get much better.
You could wait. If you think Philly's going to level the series 1-1, probably get a better number. They do. So
if the numbers if the number's 5.5 now in Philly, when they go back to Atlanta in front of a full crowd, that number's gonna. I mean, money line is gonna be the game's gonna be basically a pick 'em, right? Atlanta going to be about a 1-point underdog at home. Period.
Yep.
So it's hard to roll over.
Unless
Hard
Philly
to roll
wins by-
over money lines too.
Unless Philly wins big.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Unless they win big in game 2. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you guys, I have one hell of a betting angle for the NBA show tomorrow on Wager Talk.
Boy.
And
When's that for?
I'm not saying what it's on or who it's on, but
Well, I can...
it might be sensitive to the topic being discussed. It could.
You know it's not pro Atlanta, Tone.
It might.
It could.
I'm not going to say which game it is, but the initials are Atlanta against Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It might be. You just have to tune in to find out, or you wait till come on the Manny's Pub Show and find out then. But it's actually been released. I actually put it out early tonight, so everybody in the world could have 30 more hours to see it.
John,
but as you guys know,
can you get the Sixers cheers song, the 76ers song from the 70s, and lead us in with that tomorrow? You know the one I'm talking about?
Yep. And
what's your bullpen music, Rob?
My bullpen music?
Probably the Rocky theme song.
I don't.
Right? Adam, what's Adam's bullpen music? You gotta get some bullpen music.
It's walk-up music, isn't it? Aren't we hitters or are we pitchers?
We're hitters.
Well, pitchers had it too.
No, I've got some black rim glasses on, taped up. And I'm throwing about 110 miles an hour at somebody's head. That's exactly right. 110 miles an hour at somebody's head because I got the turbo glue in my damn hand.
Real quick, I'm going to hog the NHL session here.
Do it.
Go.
Oh, one last thing. I usually have I have thousands of these betting angles, right? The betting systems, and on any given day, I can have a game with 4 or 5 supporting systems on both teams. But then based on the JR value, which is the P value statistically speaking, that filters through the ones that aren't so hot. This is the only game tomorrow in the NBA playoffs to date that has all the systems on Philly. So there, I blew it. But you got to tune in and listen to it.
What did you blow?
We will.
Well, I gave away what the betting system is.
Well, you told us the steak was going to be medium rare, but we got to show up and find out if it's really medium rare. So you can say you blew it, but you didn't blow it.
I mean, this is eating meat that's not even cooked. This is fresh off the kill. All right. So Winnipeg, Montreal.
Yes.
Montreal is the second team in the history of the NHL playoffs to win 6 consecutive playoff games. And guess who number 1 is?
Toronto.
It ain't Winnipeg.
Montreal.
I thought you just said they were okay.
They're both.
They own the top win streaks in playoff history.
Well, I believe that they were only playing against
John. I never have something to add to NHL, but I have something to throw in here.
That's great.
Quick. You know how? So, and this is just going off memory from the beginning of the season. And Rob made me think of it a second ago when he said, the Hawks were a team that got a ton of love prior to the season. Well, like the sharpest preseason future in NHL, at least that I remember hearing of, I actually threw a little on it, was basically anything Montreal Canadiens related. So, maybe it's, maybe it is a surprise. I don't follow hockey. I don't handicap hockey, so I don't follow it very closely. But I do remember the sharpest action that some of these books were taking from NHL futures prior to the season was all Montreal. So here they are, and looks like they're.
I like that because I heard Nancy Dowd wrote the script this year for Montreal. Nancy Dowd, Slapshot. She wrote Slapshot.
Oh, I love that. Putting on the foil, Coach.
Yeah, that's a great all-time movie.
So
it's real simple. The hockey picks for this show are Boston and Montreal. So now, moving on to Major League Baseball. Let's have Adam do his free pick here.
Yes.
Oh, Adam, come on.
All right, so once again, it is not a free pick. It's not up for sale, but for listeners of Manny's Pub, it's free.
Oh.
So it is my 4% play, 4-unit play, I think we're calling it now on my site. 4-unit play. My only play for Monday, and I am on the under in Royals Angels, and I'll explain. I'll explain why I like it. So this actually kind of goes back to yesterday. Something I within my little network of people, I knew that there was a ton of sharp money on the under in Royals Twins yesterday, about an hour before the game. I mean, it definitely started to get slammed, and the line definitely moved down a half a run, and it went under pretty easily. The Twins and Royals, I believe, they played to a 2-1 final, and so, through my little network, I found out that was probably happening again today, and I started to look into it, and I said, okay, I kind of agree with this, and I also think it might move. So if you want to get on this, I would try to find a 9 out there right now, because I could see this kind of doing what happened yesterday. I could see this going off 8.5, and you definitely want under 9 if you can on a bit. That's a pretty key number, because you're not dead at 4-4. At least you could get out with a push. So you definitely want to get under 9 instead of under 8.5 if you can in baseball. The reason I like this, though, I love backing pitchers in their major league debut, if possible, if I can find a way to. And you have a kid for the Royals, former first-round draft pick from a couple years ago, making his debut tonight. And maybe Tony can jump in there and let us know if he knows anything about him. But his name's Jackson Kowar.
I know a little bit about him, but
I guess the scouting report, Tony, you can kind of jump in. I guess his changeup's pretty good changeup. And I know, it reminds me. Yeah. What I was going to say is, go ahead.
He's got a good differential. I think his changeup's a good pitch. I don't think it's a plus pitch yet, but then it's the most important pitch, I think, in baseball. So, but I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to finish. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go finish, and then I'll ask you a question at the end.
Yep. So, anyway, that's an angle I always like. I think teams in general will get up a little bit for a guy making his major league debut, and so you have Kowar who comes in, makes his debut. Angels have never seen him, and so I think that when you go from him to a Royals bullpen that I think is pretty good. You have Josh Stalmont, Barlow, Jake Bentz. This bullpen might be a top bullpen in a year or two. So, and if you look at their numbers right now, they're definitely top half of the league. So they're probably better than people think. So I think the Royals could hold down this Angels offense. And when I look at the other side, the Royals, all of a sudden, they were on a pretty nice win streak. And then the last 2 days, they completely stopped hitting. They've only scored 5 runs over their last 2 games. They lost both games. So I think the Royals are going to come back down to earth a little bit here. And I also, I know the numbers are what they are, but Dylan Bundy is better than what he's shown so far this year. He's 0-6, which is already sort of inflating. Win-loss records for pitchers at this point are kind of irrelevant. And yes, the 6.49 or 6.49 ERA is a little alarming, but his WHIP's only 1.32, and I refuse to believe that he's this bad. And his best, if you go back to mid-April, his best start of the season so far, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, came in Kansas City against the Royals. So I just think Bundy's due for something good to happen. I don't think he's as bad as his numbers are suggesting. And I think you're getting a Royals offense that's very cold, suddenly cold, because they crushed the ball throughout their win streak. And now the last 2 days, they've disappeared offensively. If the Royals can put it together pitching if Kowar can throw a couple good innings in his major league debut and they can get to what I think is a pretty good Royals bullpen, I think under 9 is probably likely here.
I like it. I love it. And we had comment in the chat room that really tough to back Dylan Bundy, but I think Dylan is the right side, and I could care less that he's 0-6.
Yep.
Sometimes you have a lot of bad luck, and it doesn't go your way, especially at the Major League Baseball level. Most pitchers are within a few games of 500 once you get to the midway point. There's guys now that are, I guess, Kershaw has 8 wins. A couple guys have 9, I think. But overall, I think, if Mr. Finn was backing Dylan Bundy on the baseball show, no, you weren't? You were?
No, I'm not. No.
Oh, you weren't?
No. Oh, on the baseball show? Oh, I said if I was in that. I said if I was in that room. If I was in that room, I would lean to the Angels certainly because I always fade, almost always fade rookie debut. The guys doing the debut almost always fade them. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's if they were McClain, Danny McClain. Don't care. Well, but Bundy, my problem with Bundy is just his exit velocity, and the fact is that he's so prone to. He's such a fly ball heavy pitcher, and he's so prone to home runs. It's I don't know what was last game he gave up like 3, I think. He's just allowing so many home runs, and everybody his strand rate. Truthfully, what Adam states is true. When you have a strand rate that's under 60%, you can't help but have some positive regression at some point in time, without question.
Yeah, and look at his ERA against his WHIP. I mean, his WHIP's only 1.32. That's not terrible for a starting pitcher. I mean, that ERA feels like it's just astronomical. He's only walked 15 guys all year, which doesn't seem terrible.
Well, his command, he's been forcing that deal. His again, I still don't like his command. If you look at the catcher, where the glove is and where he's putting it, that's been an issue. That's why he's catching too much to the plate sometimes. But my question
but the Royals cooled off, though.
Oh, yeah. How did they cool off? How did they cool off against Barrios and Farrell? Or Barrios, let's put it that way. But I was surprised that they cooled off against Minnesota. But my question to you is this. I was told that Fairchild, and I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Fairchild is the umpire tonight. I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to not tell people. Just so you know, I have it's not written in stone. They don't typically announce it until 4 hours before game time. But we're about there, aren't we? Yeah, we're closer than that. So I'm guessing that's accurate. And Fairchild's only has he ranks of active umpires. Here's the problem. He has I think he's in the bottom 18% of strikeout percentage. His strikeout percentage or Ks to base on balls is one of the lowest in the league. Now he's not been a terrible over to under record wise, but some of his peripherals are concerning. If you take into account umpires, which I do. So now I've seen Fairchild call some monster K zones, but typically they're not in game 1 of a series. They're typically in getaway games. You know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah. I have some to show you, Mr. Finn.
Okay, what? Show me. If it's going to be Fairchild, you show me Fairchild.
It's another really eye-catching picture of mine.
Well, let me pull up.
That's not the one here. Because that was my one. It was Lopez, but they scratched him for the Marlins. How dare they?
Right.
But now here you have a guy that's never faced the Padres, to my knowledge. And you mentioned
I mentioned that on the show.
Yep.
Not once. Not one batter. That's advantage Frito-Lay tonight.
Is that Adbert?
Yeah. So Tony, why wouldn't you give the advantage to Coar since no one's ever seen him before?
Well, I don't do that because I don't do that with rookie. Here's what we don't know about Coar. Here's what I do know about rookie debuts. I know that more often than not, it's you have to be exceptional, or should I say, you have to have played for Miami. You have to have been through some of these situations, not once, not twice, but a dozen times, where you can overcome the nerves and the jitters and that these guys are, they're such egomaniacs. To play at this level, you have to have quite an ego anyway. And I don't begrudge anybody for having an ego.
And a short memory.
But they typically are not as good as they should be. So I'm playing probabilities, see? So I'm not saying Kozar shouldn't have some advantage at first 1 or 2 times through the lineup. As long as he can command his stuff, I would agree with that. He's a big guy. He's a big guy, Adam. When he lets go of the ball, you think the ball's already on top of you. I think he's 6'7". So he's a big kid, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going to show this betting angle again.
What's that?
I'm going to show this betting angle again, and then I'm going to let Rob Vino speak.
Okay, well, I can't pull up the screen. I don't know where we are.
Rob Vino's my Philadelphia fan-based friend.
Oh, God.
Now look at this. I'm going to tell you flat out I do have a strong opinion on this, and we can debate this on another show. But a guy that's facing a team for the first time, it is far different for even Major League Baseball batters to study video, study release points, study motions, jerkiness, whatever it is, than have to face them in a live situation. When it becomes live, and a guy like Adbert Alzolov,
Frito-Lay,
and the stuff that he has, I think, and I feel strongly about this. You know, I don't get too bold on the show here, but this is a play that I think the Cubs are going to destroy the Padres tonight.
Well, it destroys it. They're in San Diego.
They'll cover the run line.
Well,
I would take the alternate run line minus 1.5 and bet the Cubs.
I think most people agree with you. You've seen the money has started moving in this game. Last night it started, but when they almost closed the business, it started moving. It's been moving ever since in the Cubs' favor.
Humbly said, because I know the betting guys don't like it when I get full of myself a little bit. You guys know I've been seeing the cards pretty good, and this one really sticks out to me. And I could have egg on my face tomorrow for being so bold, but I think Chicago wins this start to finish. And that's the betting angle of the day.
I'll take 2.5 runs, and I'll give you 2-1.
How does he come up with these? Like, does he think that's? I mean, does he think he's talking to a chair?
No, I would never.
I mean, nobody in their right mind would do that bet except for Steve Merrill.
But you are so incorrect. I get people to do it all the time. Ski. I'm also one that will take that. I will give away the farm if I really like something like you're doing, and I believe wholeheartedly that I'm right. Then I typically will. If the line's 5, I'll give you 8. That's how.
So you would do minus 2.5 on the Cubs. That's probably like plus 350, 450.
350, 450. I think I said 2-1.
Well, my line is plus 350 if I'm going to make a bet with you. If you're taking the other side of it, I need 350.
You need 3. You mean to tell me you need 350 on the alternative? Is that what the alternative line is?
Robin Adam, what would you make that line? The Cubs as a slight dog. I mean, call it pick 'em if you want.
It's a pick 'em.
Minus 2.5 on the road?
It's not 350.
Against the mighty Padres?
I mean, I'm with you, John. I definitely lean Cubs there. I wouldn't lay any sort of obnoxious alternate run line, but I saw it now. I think Alzolay has pretty good road numbers too. I'm going off memory here, but I think his numbers
are sparkling.
Are really good. And
excellent control.
He did face the Padres last series, though. Didn't he pitch pretty good against them? I thought he faced the Padres.
Yeah, and
Weathers
got bombed. Weathers got bombed. I'd take it back. I'm only going to give you 1.8 to 1.
I think Alzolay pitched in that series too. He pitched pretty good, right? Didn't he?
Yeah.
So that's I guess that's the only concern. Maybe is that they just saw him and now they're seeing him 5 days later. But like, I don't know. I mean, I was on the Cubs yesterday. I didn't have a great week last week. The only 2 baseball bets I cashed, I think, were Cubs in both the Hendricks starts. So, I like this Cubs team, though. I think they're a little undervalued for a Cubs team, which is uncharacteristic. Usually the Cubs, when they're decent, are a team that gets bet, and I feel like people are sleeping on the Cubs a little bit right now. And I think it's reflected in some of the lines, or some of their prices lately. So
plus 218 is the 1.5 on the Cubs.
You're talking to a former institutional trader, former pit trader, and I know when I'm trying to get had, and I'll just wave you off right now.
Well, it's not had.
That was the signal. Like, come back with a real offer.
Well, that's
on the floor. That's a signal on the floor right there.
I'm a Russian Jew, and I negotiate everything. I hope I didn't make anybody mad with that statement.
Well, this is a play that I wanted to do tonight.
As a Jew, I can say that, though. I can call myself, a negotiator, right?
But this is a run line angle, and this was going to be, a play. But they obviously don't have Lopez pitching for the Marlins. Mm-hmm. But I also factored in that it's not part of this system. The fact that the Red Sox swept the Yankees at Bronx,
it's a letdown. It's a letdown
at Yankee Stadium. Yeah, right.
Game. Yeah.
2011 was the last time, and we see it in football. You beat the reigning Super Bowl champs, and what happens when you go home? You lay an egg against the worst team in the league, and everybody hates you.
Yeah, it's not NFL Sunday letdown, but it's a letdown. I think you're right, John.
And Miami's coming off their longest losing streak, I think, since 2016.
Eight games, yes.
Arbitrage. Right, bounce back versus regression are these two teams.
So what are we getting?
This system still applies tonight, even though they changed the pitchers, but I didn't release it. But for those that are looking at it, I mean, this is a pretty darn good one. $100 bettors made $6,000 in the last 5 seasons, just following these two simple rules.
Oh, I see. Well, the Red Sox are up 1-0, so just so you know.
Well, then I should definitely get on the
live.
The Marlins now, right?
Jump.
Hey, I'll run the numbers tomorrow. I'm going to write it down. In that one that I had, just because of this year, the big favorites of minus. It was either I have the notes. It was either minus 200, minus 225, and up.
They've been a winner the last couple of years.
We're at home and trailed 2-0 at home as a big time favorite. That's an in-game. That's an ATM. So far this year in the Major League Baseball, that is an ATM. Whether it stays like that, I don't know. Now he said it.
Nothing stays like that. Nothing's an ATM for very long, or they do something about it, and an ATM gets stolen or it gets lost.
So we covered everything except PGA golf, and there's not enough time for me to do that because that would be another half hour.
All right.
So let's go around the horn with some quick final thoughts, final best bets. 2 minutes. I'll give you double the time that other shows give you.
Double?
With no horn or whistle to embarrass you.
That gives me 2 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
So let's start with Adam, and then I'll go, Rob Vino, and then Tony Finn will bring up the anchor.
All right, so here's my final thought. Obviously, I won't get that. I just gave out my four-unit play for today. Under and Royals, Angels under 9. My final thought, because we were going to talk about it and didn't. Tony, John, you emailed us and said, what's wrong with the Yankees? And my thoughts on that are they just don't really hit. They have they're hitting 228 as a team, but there's a sabermetric stat called base runs. It's BSR. They are minus 13, which is dead last in the league.
Love it.
That's number of runs a team should have scored. They're minus 13. It's dead last in the majors by a long margin, like a huge margin. So they are
worse than Detroit,
far,
Tony.
Huh?
They are
worse than Detroit.
Yeah, way worse. They're so far at the bottom of the league that minus 13 it's almost seems like an outlier type number. And so, that tells me that maybe the Yankees, in the near future might be a play on because, it seems like they're not scoring runs that most, should have as in quotations when you look up BSR. So, it seems like they're just leaving sort of freebies out there or at least runs that, are in convertible spots, like man on third, less than 2 outs, or stranding a lot of guys in scoring position. So, yeah, it's not pretty right now, but I would look to bet on the Yankees going forward because I think we'll get some positive regression there.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So now I actually need another minute, and since I'm the host, I can change the order. So we'll go to Rob Vino because I feel bad. He hasn't really been given the mic very much.
That's fine.
This show. But let's see what he thinks for final thoughts and best bet.
Put a nipple on it, too, then.
Yeah, Tone, I need that. Sensitive hanging around you.
Rob isn't. He's not a needy guy at all. Right. Do you think he's a needy guy?
Rob, not at all.
I don't think so. I agree. You're right.
Listen, I'll go with what I said on the NBA tip-off show. Phoenix, Denver, first half total opened up at 111.5. It's currently 113, but I still played it over anyway. The 3 games in this series, guys, and these are old. These are old history. The 3 times these teams played were all in January. Denver had guys that no longer exist on this team. Paul Millsap's no longer a starter. Aaron Gordon's taken his place. Jamal Murray out for the season. Gary Harris has been replaced by Austin Rivers. Gary Harris in Orlando. Campazzo obviously playing for Murray. And Michael Porter Jr. is taking over at the small forward. Will Barton's still out. So it's a different team. But these results are hard to ignore. These teams played 3 times. Phoenix won every single first half. 60-49. 68-54, 61-58. Game totals 119, 122, 109. Denver won every second half, and the totals went down to 100, 96, and 77. That's pretty drastic drop-off in total. All the points to be scored first half here. Phoenix against the Lakers in that series. Now, the Lakers are a far better defensive team than the Denver Nuggets are. Denver Nuggets, you can put Jokic in pick and roll. You can put Porter Jr. in pick and roll. You can do whatever you want against them and score points. Against the Lakers, in those final 3 games of that series, Phoenix got it going. 60 points, 66 points, and 54 points in the first half. And all 3 of those, one actually got over this number or pushed it, 113. They had a couple of 102s in there where the Lakers only contributed 36 and 41 points. Denver's going to contribute a lot more than 36 and 41 points. They're liable to score 36 points in a quarter, the Denver Nuggets. So, to me, it opened too low. The bettors caught on to it. They bet it up. I still think it's good, over 113. That's the way I'm going to play it here. I think Phoenix-Denver first half goes over 113. Real quick, guys, on the Dylan Bundy thing. And Tone, I'm in complete agreement there. Dylan Bundy, the one thing that's wrecked his career, sabotaged it, is the home run ball. And you're always afraid of this guy giving up home runs. And he's given up 7 home runs in his last 12 innings. And all of a sudden, he was going along nice. And when it hits him, he doesn't get out of that real quick.
No.
Royals, I mean, either they could stay in their slump or this could be the perfect elixir for their slump. Dylan Bundy, I don't know which. But that's a guy that, wow, when he gives up long balls, they come in bunches. And it's like, stay away from that for each. Hopefully there's solos if he gives any up tonight to keep that thing under the number. And with rookie pitchers, there used to be a pretty much a standard rule amongst bettors. Rookie left-handed pitchers in their debut were bet-ons against major league lineups. For whatever reason, it worked quite a bit. You don't see as many left-handers. Left-handers come with different motions, blah, blah, blah. But rookie left-handers were always a bet-on, and right-handers, I don't know, never really a rule for them. But I don't even know if that left-handed rule really exists anymore, guys, but it was pretty good moneymaker for a lot of years. And Randy Weathers, by the way, in his first 14 innings this year as a left-hander, and he didn't pitch deep into games off the bat, but he only allowed 4 hits in his first 14 innings. Saw 5 different teams, and none really got to him first time through. So it's just something to keep in mind with rookie left-handers that may be coming up rest of the season.
It's good stuff, Rob. Excellent. So, Tony Finn, the stage is yours, my friend, for 2 minutes.
Oh, not only 2 minutes. I'll make it short. First off, my best bet. I played this when I played the over. I played this as well, and I played the team to make the most free throws tonight. Be the Brooklyn Nets are only minus 113, and and it didn't say to take the most free throw shots. It says teams to make the most free throws, and the Nets are a better free throw shooting team. They're a better shooting team than most teams. Yeah. So I played that. Essentially playing the standard juice, and really it's less than standard juice in most props. So I got minus 13.
I love it.
As far as the Yankees go, and I want to throw something in here that Adam threw in. How about if I told you that I've had a lot of discussions about the Yankees, and a lot of people said they wouldn't make the playoffs early on. Yada yada. But listen, they're tied for the fourth most errors in baseball. They're tied for the most throwing errors in baseball. Their 977 their fielding percentage is bottom tier. It's in the bottom 25%. And when it comes to metrics, and Adam brought some up, but DRS, UZR, DEF, outs above average, all on the wrong side of zero, guys. All of them. And the rotation outside of Jared Cole have been disappointment. So how do you win with those kind of metrics? It's very difficult to do. And if you believe in the Yankees, they're a victim also of what's going on in baseball right now, and that is pitchers dominate. And the Yankees need to score runs to win games with their rotation. They didn't add much. They didn't add anything fantastic in last year. If it wasn't for Montgomery, I think they might be worse off than they are right now. So that's my take on the Yankees and why they're struggling. Everyone's struggling offensively.
I have a take on it too, Tony.
Let me just throw one more in there quick, because Adam mentioned the number of runs that they're leaving on the table out there, minus 13, worst in the league. And in part, guys, I feel like this is the team that's hitting to the most double plays of any team in the major leagues. Yep. And when you're whacking ball, they're almost hitting into a double play per game. They're dead last in the league. I think the number last night was 58 double plays they've hit into already, and that'll certainly take runners off bases faster than anything. So I don't know exactly how the metric is calculated and where the runners have to be as far as base is concerned and how many outs have to be at the time. But certainly these double plays aren't helping the Yankees cause scoring runs either. And that could change. Like Adam said, maybe it could be a reversal. You don't expect the team to hit into this many double plays throughout the entire year. If they do, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you're right. And the caveat to the numbers I read to you was that I looked at those. It's been 5 or 6 days, so I may not be completely accurate on the exact numbers I've given you, but they're not good. They're not good.
They're not good.
So here's the solution I propose.
Okay.
What the Yankee hitters need to do
the pitching rubber back.
is abandon this stupid launch angle crap. And then they need to go down and hire the Durham Bulls head coach from the movie. There's 3 fundamentals.
Yep.
You catch the ball, you field the ball,
not happening,
and you hit the ball.
Not happening, Johnny. Listen,
they need a coach like that.
Guess what? The coach that won the World Series last year is the exact opposite of that. The worst situational hitting team in baseball are the Dodgers. The worst. Well, they have runners. They have a 1-run lead. They have runners on first and second. They don't bunt. They swing for the fences. Horrible.
If you do something right, you're going to do it as full force.
The difference is that they were swinging for the fences and they were hitting doubles and home runs. That Dodgers team, though. So
instead of double plays.
Except for when I bet on them, and I need another run because of that damn run line, because I don't want to lay the 280, and they're swinging for the damn fences. It's just ridiculous. And then Jansen, I got a 5-run lead.
I knew this was going to come up. Kylie Jensen, your buddy.
Jansen comes in.
Didn't Dodgers run line cash a ton last year, though? I feel like it cashed all the time. Dodgers run.
Well, I can say this. Yeah, if you're going to play the Dodgers. And as long as they're on the road, I don't play home. At home, so there's no reason to play -1. You can play -1 if you want, but you might as well play -1.5. Hell, play -2.5 because John will give you like plus 500
if I want to.
Because I don't want to jump on Dave Roberts' back and ride that horse into the ground for the 50th time with Tony. We both agree Dave Roberts is a mess. If I look at him with his hands hanging over the rail one more time while his pitchers are getting destroyed. But garbage cans and all, I'm going to talk managers here. All of that aside, Alex Cora, what he's done in Boston all of a sudden is unbelievable. Now,
stealing signs. Stealing signs.
I don't know how he's doing it. I have no idea.
No trash can lids.
At some point in time, maybe I have to figure he's just a damn good manager because this talent is no different than what they put on the field last year as far as this everyday lineup is concerned. And they hit the baseball, and they're, 36 and 23. They're going to have the best 60-game turnaround of any team.
You guys Rob,
That's a
remember?
season high too.
You remember I told you about those magazines when we were kids that you could get on there and Alex Cora bought those glasses as X-ray glasses and he puts those some bitches on. It's fucking magical.
I thought maybe Boston was doing well
See-through
because they're
women's
from New
clothes.
England and it's like New England's football team. They deflated the balls.
I mean, he could be contacting
possible.
Belichick, and Belichick's always a step ahead of the law. But I mean, in his defense, and listen, they beat the Dodgers in a World Series and with their garbage cans. And I'm a Dodger fan at heart, so I don't care for Alex Cora, but you can't deny the job he's doing with that team. I mean, nobody thought
I
they'd
agree.
be in the spot they're in right now.
I
60
agree.
games
He's
in,
the man right now. Manager of the year. He'll win that.
Hands
He'll win
down.
that thing hands down.
And they
I
got
agree.
Chris Sale throwing. Don't
What's
forget
he throwing?
that.
What's he throwing? Caution to the wind.
He's throwing off the mound. He's actually doing drills throwing off the mound.
He's throwing up, Tone.
I gave the Red Sox.
Seriously, think of Sale coming back to that lineup
that would be huge.
later this year.
If he's right.
Maybe.
Yep. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I gave Red Sox 25-1 to win the AL East out on John Ryan's show a day before the season. So
Well done.
Absolutely well done. It ain't
We'll have to
25
cut that
one
out
anymore.
and air it.
Yeah,
I'll probably try to. I have the Blue Jays too, so I'm gonna just kind of see how.
Well,
things
you got to
play
beat
out.
Tampa Bay first. You got to beat Tampa Bay.
I know.
Those sons of bitches. They find a way to.
I know.
They find a way to have John Ryan get on the mound and have success.
Yeah.
And on that same show, I talked about how it was partially because I was fading the Rays and the Yankees were way overpriced. So the Rays
I agree.
Rays look very good. The Rays are much better than I expected them to be. But
If they hit left-handers, if they can hit a left-handed pitcher, they're pretty good. It's kind of like Ben Simmons. If he could shoot a jump shot, how good would Philly? be?
Hey. That's tomorrow's show. You're ahead of yourself again, Tony. Here's my picks for the shows. And 7-1 now I am in the player props. So I'm going to continue to ride this whatever it is, camel.
Camel. All right.
Well, camel being that someday I'm going to fall off a camel and not be able to hit sand. That's how you go through those streaks, right?
Wow.
I mean,
So
That's bad luck.
Jokic, triple-double plus 475.
really?
Blake Griffin, double-double plus 400. Joe Harris, and this is my favorite one. Joe Harris, 20.5 minus 105, and I got Manny's pick. He gave me a sheet of paper again. He's 2-0.
Manny.
Dolphins 3-0. And guess who he picked? Guess who he's telling everybody to get on now before it's too late?
No.
The Sixers on the series minus. What did he say here? Minus.
Come on, man.
Can't read his handwriting. Minus 122. Yes, before the game yesterday, it was 220. Now it's minus 122. That has to be a value bet.
Man.
yeah, if you,
And
even
Manny
like
said
the,
so.
if you even like the Sixers a little bit, you have to make that bet. I think.
Yeah, because if they win,
I think they're the
tomorrow-
better team. I honestly do. And I know Trey Young, Tony Finn made some great points. So did both of you guys. All you did. I just think tomorrow night, and again, I like root for underdogs like Doc Rivers getting just absolutely hammered by the LA media last year, and maybe it was warranted. But sometimes it goes overboard, and you start insulting family members and all that kind of nonsense.
It was a pandemic.
And
You
I
got nothing else to
gravitate
lie
towards
about.
those guys. I can't help myself.
I don't think it
So
was
I would-
warranted. I think it's the players on the floor still decide these games. Like you want to sit there and pin it on the coach. How about Kawhi and everyone that didn't show up in that game, with a lead in that series last year? But continue. I think. he
Yeah,
got
I mean,
it
they were
wrong.
up 3-1 and blew it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right. I totally agree with you, Adam. But those are my picks, and if you guys don't have anything else, I guess we'll end it tonight, and then we'll be back here at our regular time tomorrow, about 4:05. We're going to have Jimmy Adams joining us, and we're going to have Adam Trigger again.
Oh.
So we got to be fully prepared for these young guns,
I can't ever be prepared for that. Never.
because we're going to have to talk about KBO.
Well, then I'll I will. I'll bring my sleeping pill and I'll sleep during that part of it.
Oh, I'll talk to Adam about it.
KBO. We are talking about Korean baseball.
Yeah.
Tony, at least they're still playing baseball, and they hit behind runners, they steal, they bunt runners over. It's a little refreshing to watch.
Yeah, they have bullpens that give up 10 runs a game.
Yeah,
no different than MLB. No different.
But see, in Korean baseball, it's like it was in 152 years ago. You get 9 balls. A pitcher got 9 balls before he walked the batter. 9 balls.
That's not.
And he couldn't throw overhanded. He had to throw underhanded. Damn, so it was
Tony
hard
knows
balls.
everything about everything in sports.
Everything? No, not everything. I know everything unnecessary, useless. I know all that stuff. That's what I know. When it comes to knowing, what I do know is how much every day I realize how much I don't know, not how much I do know. So
Mickey Mantle actually said that. I'm not kidding around. He actually said along the lines of, it's interesting to know a game you played all your life, how much you really don't know about the game.
You're right. That's so true. So true.
And that was not a Yogi Berra. That was Mantle.
I like Yogi Berra. Can we somebody be Yogi Berra? Come up with a Yogiism. Somebody come up with
Tony, 90 and Rob, Adam, 90% of the game is half mental.
I like that one. I do.
See, it involves numbers. I remember quotes like that.
Yeah, I do. I like that one.
Somebody was ripping them off at their Hall of Fame speech. I forget who it was.
Here's the question.
Well, there's probably like 200 of them.
Yeah,
or more.
So many. Oh my god.
And there's no way anyone. I had somebody try to tell me that Yogi he just said those things. He didn't know what he's saying. I said, no one can come up with that many Yogiisms. No one is that. No way. I kept telling it was intentional, dude. No, he's not that funny. Really? Have you had a beer with him? Because I haven't, and I don't know how funny he is, but I know that no one comes up with. Nobody's that silly 200 times in a week. They're just not. So let's
I think he came up with that.
Go get him tonight.
It's saying about the woman singing before the game was over or something.
The fat lady.
I can't remember that one exactly.
Fat lady.
You can look it up. Some lady was starting to sing something because the game was over, but it really wasn't over.
I don't know about this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's good stuff.
All right, so that'll do it. Thank you guys for being on the show. Rob Vino, Tony Finn, Adam Trigger, and I thank myself for being the host on this show.
I kind of like that name, Adam Trigger.
Just be glad I'm not Joe Piscopo.
Yeah. We can come up with stuff with Adam Trigger. We can do some ridiculous marketing with that name.
Yeah, was the name of one of those old-time Cowboys horses was named
Shred. I used to get that when I was younger. I didn't know what the hell people were talking about, but I got it.
I'm thinking I can combine Kemosabe and Trigger. We can do something.
Yeah, it was Mr.
All right, guys.
Hey,
I'm also doing a show with Adam and Jimmy tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be live.
What's the name of the show?
The Predictive PlayBook with Jimmy Adams and Adam Trigger and your host, John Ryan.
No. Oh, well, just
it's the same. It's the same bat channel. This same channel as this. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, go ahead and put the fucking bat light up. I'll be there.
Put the bat light up.
So until then, for the Predictive PlayBook, sportsmemo.com, all my good buddies that come on this show. Can't thank you enough. Thank you in the chat room for all the good things you guys are saying. Each week we're getting more and more, and it's taking myself out of the conversation, which I'm very grateful for at some times. May all the wins be yours.